I don't know how it is with our daddy only loves forsaken bushes. Let's look at Joseph. Joseph was very kind. Yet when his older brothers, his stepbrothers, they are very evil. But whenever they make a mistake, Joseph feels sorry for them. He doesn't want to see them die because they're disobeying. So he said, Father, the brothers, they stole watermelon. And the father said, you stole watermelon, didn't you? I said, oh, he's a tattletale. And they hit him, and they used to beat him. And he always had bumps on his head. He told the father because he wanted them to be saved and not commit crime. But instead, they didn't understand that. And they always mistreated him and hit him. And at the end, they were going to kill him. But instead they sold him. And at the time, being sold as a slave is worse than death. Because when you became a slave, they used to beat you and use you. And even if you were killed by the master, it's not even a crime. And you can't even complain. Because slaves, we're not considered people but property. So if a slave died, I just lost some property. So he was taken to a country where he did not even know the language or the culture. And yet he had to be a slave there. And he was beaten and hit. Finally, he ended up learning the language and everything. You can imagine what he went through. He could probably write many books about what he went through. So all he did was work and work. But does he even receive a word of thanks? Instead, at the end, he was covered with misunderstanding, and later, he received a great misunderstanding and was sent to jail for a crime that he did not commit. Yet God forsook all those good-looking, supposedly nice brothers, and even the others. And God came to Joseph and said, I loved you most. And he set up on the highest position in Egypt. Pharaoh, he was just the highest position person by name, but it was Joseph who had the power and authority, because he was actually the king, and Pharaoh was just a robot. How about Daniel and his three friends? We may say, wow, Daniel and his three friends, but in actuality, they were truly forsaken thorn bushes. They lived in the Gentile land, receiving contempt and scorn as young people, and they had to live under the Gentile masters, and they really lived difficultly. So though they became high priests, no one would even address them with respect. But they say, he's that slave he's that Hebrew slave. He prayed. No one even called him a minister or high priest, which was his position. Instead, people would always watch them and see if they make a mistake in order to get rid of them. And he was not liked by the people or by his fellow workers. And even they were thrown to a fire furnace or even the lion's den. And did not even have the freedom to pray. And yet, God forsook all those other people that were cursing him and mistreating him. And he went to them in the fiery furnace and the lion's den and embraced them, and later set them up as kings of the country. So King Darius was king, but it was actually Daniel who was controlling him. Let's go to the New Testament. How about Jesus' 12 disciples? If you look at, they're all very shabby people. Tax collectors, fishermen, prostitutes, farmers. And when they used to go to church, people would even look at them. They are sinners. They are awful sinners. And tax collectors, they call them very evil, wicked. There's not even one person who would go to them and say, "Oh, will you pray? Will you lead worship? Will you do this instead?" No one even say hi to them. And they would sit in the corner of the church and they would walk out quietly at the end of worship. And their characters also are filled with thorns, and they have such short tempers that they will flame and get upset and fight, even to the smallest things. They were forsaken by society and by the church. But God, the second God of heaven, He forsook all those robe-wearing high priests and others. He forsook even the king and forsook all those descendants of Abraham. And He went to those shabby, uneducated people and said, "Don't you want to go to heaven with me?" And He came down to them and He embraced them. How about the Samaritan woman? She was not a prostitute, but she changed husbands 6 times. Though she lived in the wilderness like that, wilderness of life, people did not even look up to her. Her conscience was completely hardened. She was a completely forsaken thornbush. And the other women wouldn't even treat her like a human being. And when it was time to get water, go to the well, she would wait until they all left. Why? Because if she went out, they wouldn't even talk to her, and they wouldn't even look at her. So she would wait until everyone else had gotten their water. And when they left, she would go and get her water when no one is around. She always stayed in her house, unable to go out and show herself. But the second God walked so far for days in order to meet her. And she embraced this forsaken thornbush and said, "Do you know I love you the most?" And confessed his love to her and said, "Yes, I am he. Get the water of life from me. Your descendants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prophesied about me." And she became the first missionary in Samaria. How about Mary the prostitute? If the religion at that time was true religion, she could become changed and be transformed. But though she went to church, her head only hurt. She couldn't understand anything. And next thing she knew, she was a prostitute. And so these self-righteous people, in order to kill Jesus, they used Mary and tried to defame Jesus and kill Jesus. They wanted to kill Jesus and Mary. So they used her. The clergy, those religious leaders, used her to kill Jesus and her, in order to kill Jesus and say that he was going around with prostitutes. People who do not have God will do anything. So they were caught. And these religious leaders said, "Let's kill her because she's caught. Let's do it according to the law and stone her to death." They are greater sinners. They commit sins which in secret, which other people don't know, yet that religion, church, made her into a prostitute, and they're killing her also. Do you know why the people were sinning and they were living like that? It's because religion, the church, was already degenerated and rotten. So Jesus, he didn't even look at them. And instead of answering the questions, he wrote something on the ground. And they were wondering, what is she writing? What is he writing? And he looked down and he sees his name. Mr. So-and-so, didn't you commit this sin? Even though he committed the sin alone, that sin was written on the ground by Jesus. Everything was there. So, next thing you know, he dropped the stone and instead ran away. Next man came and looked, and that man's name, you committed that sin, didn't you? And so he dropped the stone and went away. 1, 2, they all came, they all looked, and then he said, if any of you have no sin, stone her first. And this prostitute was sitting there alone, wondering when the stones begin to fly. Will I get hit in my back first or my head first? And she was just sitting there. But Jesus said to her, in a voice of love, say, my Father does not condemn you, neither do I. Now return. Do not sin anymore, but live beautifully as a daughter of God. And to her, it sounded like music. You know, because of that love from Jesus, that prostitute became a new woman. And it was to the point where she even forgot that she was once a prostitute. She became a completely new person. She became an angel. Sermons or speeches cannot change people. Love can transform people. So this Mary, she became a complete angel. And with one heart, one chastity, she loved Jesus. And when all the other male disciples who considered themselves righteous ran away, this one female disciple took all the money she had. She invested all her money in order to buy incense and washed Jesus' feet with that and her hair. One of the disciples says, what a waste of money. This is 300 denarius. And Jesus said, no, do not scold her. This woman, what this woman does will be a gospel to the end of the ages. You are not preparing for my death, but she's preparing for my death. And also, when all the disciples ran away, this Mary followed Jesus to the cross. And when he was resurrected, Jesus came to her first. And she was able to proclaim first that Jesus had arisen. Perhaps if she was not a woman, she would have been the top disciple, but because she was a woman, she was a secret disciple. And her works, her gospel will go to the ends of the ages. And let's look at a tax collector named Zacchaeus. They considered him a traitor. Why? Because he worked for the Romans. He would collect money from his own people and give it to the Romans. And so he was cursed at. And he wasn't even treated as a human being. And he even became a head tax collector. But actually he was very kind inside. He was honest. He wanted to be a tax collector with a conscience. But even though, no matter how honest he is, people say, he steals the taxes. Nobody will acknowledge him. So he said, forget it. And he started to take money. And he became very rich. But his heart was continually going towards God. If we just have the heart to love God, there's no sin which can stop us from going to Him. So he very earnestly wanted to meet God, but when he went to church, the priests would not even treat him as a person, and he would just sit in the corner of the church. And he would only feel hurt every time he went to church. But he heard rumors about Teacher Jesus, Rabbi Jesus, who was uneducated, who was very young, yet he spoke such wonderful truths. And he would guide people to God. And he also heard that Jesus was fair to all people. And he even heard that Jesus loved those kind of sinners more than the righteous people. And he heard, oh, he is the Son of God. He heard these rumors. He heard it from this person, that person. How can they be so blessed and be a disciple of such a wonderful teacher? Oh, I'd like to meet that teacher, that rabbi once. But you know, how can I ever meet that holy teacher, even when I'm mistreated, even at church? And he just was patient for many days. And one time, he heard that Rabbi Jesus was coming to his area, to where he lived. He said, oh, nice, that's nice. Though he couldn't dare go to meet him, he said, oh, I'll take a look at him from far away. So he heard that Jesus was coming, and he climbed up a tree to look at him. You know, if he is a head tax collector, that's a very high position person. That's a government official. Can you imagine? Government official. And even at that high position one, can you imagine all the kids laughing at him as he climbs up a tree? But because his heart was going to Jesus and he loved Jesus so much, it didn't matter to him. That's why it's in the Bible that God will meet those who earnestly desire to meet him. So he didn't think about any shame or disgrace, and he climbed a tree. And as he looked, there you can see Jesus far away, and there's a lot of people around him. Wow. He's so popular. Jesus is walking closer and closer. And when he looked at his face is more holy than what he heard of. Oh, his face. How come Jesus looks so kind? His face is so different than all those other high priests. And he wants to go to him. So he just kept on staring at Jesus. And Jesus is coming closer and closer. And he's coming to the tree. This teacher, he'll just go right by. But instead, he did not go on that road, but came to the tree where he was up in. And he came to the bottom of the tree, and he looks up and says, Zacchaeus, I love you. I want to stay with you tonight. Let's sleep and let's talk. Oh, he was so surprised. And though there were so many other rich people who tried to take him to their homes, instead he ignored them. And instead he said he's going to sleep at the house of this man. And he pinched himself, but it wasn't a dream. And Jesus is still smiling at him. And even at that, he's under him. And so he was so shocked and so happy that he came down from the tree. He came down so fast, maybe, who knows, maybe the buttons on his jacket all fell off. But anyway, he came down the tree and he said, Lord, I have $1 million. I will sell it all, and I will give half of it to the poor people. And the other half, I'll use it to pay back all the people who I stole money from. And if there's any left, I will use it to live holy and beautiful in your life of God, in your life. And he said, today, your house has been saved. Do you believe that Zacchaeus was saved? Those who say that you must believe in Jesus all your life to be saved is a lie. Don't believe in those in those words.
며칠만 하고 구원받는다고요?
How many weeks does it take you for to be saved? 4 weeks and you can become saved. You meet him, get to know him, become friends with him, and then become one with him. And you go to heaven like Enoch. Then, how long before Zacchaeus came down from the tree, he was not saved. But when he came down, he was saved. Do you believe this? I hope you believe what Jesus said. Then, how long did it take him to come down the tree? Many years? Many months? Maybe 2 or 3 seconds. He probably jumped off the tree. During those 2 or 3 seconds, he was saved. I hope you believe this. He was saved in a few seconds. What's changed him? It was a love from Jesus. It was that power that transformed him. That's why salvation comes from love. We may memorize lifeless doctrines, but it cannot be our salvation.